Economic Growth and Development Committee. I don't know if Supervisor McDonald would like to jump up. Would appreciate it. And is Wayne in attendance? Okay, good. Could we get a motion to approve the minutes of our last meeting? Mr. Strau, and seconded by Supervisor Montesi. Wayne, did you just want to make a comment relative to the status of potential new employee?
There's been as you're aware, the committee approved and the board approved the creation of a senior planner position within the department to start the restaffing. We've had the job announcement out since the 1st of July. We've gotten 3 responses, but on the initial job announcement that was out there, the date for submission wasn't real clear, so we've clarified that, and we're putting it out for another couple of weeks just to make sure that anybody who was interested knows what the deadline is. So we've got, as I said, we've gotten 3 responses. I'm going to be honest, only one is really viable at this point, so that's why I really wanted to extend it, just to make sure that we're doing our due diligence. So that's just an update on that.
Very good. Ed, I want to first of all thank you for bringing that very distinctive water bottle all the way from the city of Glens Falls today, so I appreciate it.
I only brought one. I did not bring it up for the supervisor.
Biodegradable. That disappears. It doesn't end up in our landfills? No. Okay, thank you.
I do want to mention for those supervisors, and some of them that are here at the table, we're at the Adirondack Challenge Sunday at Gore, the 4th annual. And besides the wonderful hosting by our Johnsburg supervisor, every seat at tables had a bottle of just water there, and we had great response from a number of downstate assembly people. Obviously, Senator Little and Dan Steck were their lieutenant governor, and a lot of legislators from Franklin and Essex County. So it was a great turnout, and again, it recognizes, and we have to give credit to the governor for recognizing and committing to the North Country. More and more attention. A number of Governor Cuomo's staff stayed in North Creek Saturday night in anticipation of the event on Sunday in Indian Lake and in Gore Mountain. So it was very good. So I just had a couple of things, Mr. Chair. One, this past month we have been undertaking an outreach in a capacity of 2 points. One is we have been meeting with a number of businesses in the North Country, and I can thank Supervisor Leggett from Chester. We have been meeting with a couple of businesses there that are looking to do expansion and or increase their line of business, and also I have been up in the town of Hague looking at a business that's looking to expand their boat repair business as well. We toured the Lake George projects, if you will, with Mayor Blaze and some ESD representatives a couple of weeks ago. They are looking for some funding. We have met with National Grid and toured a number of buildings in the area regarding their energy programs, and we offer that to any supervisor and businesses that potentially are looking to expand or acquire particularly vacant buildings or buildings that are essentially unoccupied. You may have like a store or an office on the first floor in Pottersville. I can unfortunately think of a couple of buildings that are vacant, but those buildings would be eligible for certain grant funds like there are in the city of Glens Falls. Queensbury has all modern buildings, so we don't have to worry about abandoned buildings in Queensbury. Which is a positive thing. Also, we have been meeting with a number of municipalities and businesses through the consolidated funding application process, which is due Friday, July 29th, next Friday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's a combination of some businesses that are looking to do some retention, again, some new line of product, as well as some municipalities ranging from some infrastructure needs that Supervisor Merlino brought out, also the needs of trying to assist some not-for-profits, and Supervisor Frank Thomas has raised that issue on on a piece of property that they're looking to acquire collectively, a not-for-profit, and some trails and parks. And that's very important, the parks and the trail systems to expand, because that's a new kind of tourism that we're beginning to recognize. But we also can't forget, and again, I think we're beginning to get more focus. At times, there seems to be more money for parks and recreation and trails, which is wonderful, but we also can't forget the infrastructure to make sure that people can stay when they come up into the area, whether it's sewer, whether it's water, whether it is extending a line in Chester on Route 9 to provide for some more housing opportunities. We need to keep those in mind, and I want to thank Wayne for assembling and putting together a list of those projects that we collectively can be supportive of. We've had 2 meetings on our Exit 20 Pathway Corridor Study. We mentioned that last meeting. We're about ready to complete the RFP process, get that out the door so we can interview and start that process, and that will be a 6-month undertaking. I do have, and I'm going to leave with you, 1 application each for the supervisors. We have been awarded, as we all know, first-time homebuyers money. For the first time, we've been able to expand a program modestly so that there will be 5 applicants outside the city of Glens Falls to be eligible to buy or purchase a home anywhere in Warren County. So I'll leave an application. We have a number of applications now, but they all have to be qualified from an income point of view. I leave that with you. Our EPA job training program applications will be available at our next meeting when I come up here in August. Want to remind the supervisors that next Tuesday there is a public information meeting and public hearing to follow at Crandall Library on 518 area code. 518 area code will be exhausted by 2019. There are 2 proposals. One proposal is to keep all existing businesses and residents in the current area under 518, and any new business that starts up or a resident that moves in, beginning probably in 2018, they will be assigned another zip code, or to take and to cut the 518 area code into 2 sectors, and have either the North Country receive a new area code, or the southern area. I've got a little bit of a news release on that. There was an article in the Post-Star that I had asked them to print out here, because it's important to get input from our, our business community as to which way we're to go. This is not new in New York State, and certainly not throughout the country, and particularly over in the New England area. Massachusetts, Long Island, Western New York, Central New York have all had to experience this, and each area has kind of done something a little bit different. So there's no pattern, and it really becomes a local opportunity for us to comment on which way, or there's a preference that we want to go. They hope to make a decision, Public Service Commission, by the end of this year in response to that. So that would be helpful. 5 o'clock is information, and then at 6 o'clock is the public hearing. And I put together part of this, Peter, for the rest of the board.
Thank you.
Little breakdown, so you can see, as we all know, 518 goes quite a period, goes down to quite a few counties. The other thing that is important, that regardless how we end up, a call from from 518 to the new area code, there will not be a charge for in that. So you're invited to that public hearing coming up on next Tuesday. And again, I just want to focus on this Adirondack Challenge, and there certainly indeed are challenges. Particularly, we continue to work with the state in trying to come up with a viable broadband program that is practical and applicable to Warren County. And I'm confident that we will get there, but it's obviously taking much longer than we've all expected. But I think that between the combination of this broadband program and the federal communication program through the E-rate program, we can come up with a solution That solution is not going to be inexpensive. There may be a need for a contribution from a municipal entity such as the County of Warren, along with a state and federal grant, in order to get this, across the goal line for us.
Did I read somewhere that Thurman was attempting to?
They have the white space.
They do,
And white space is an alternative in certain rural areas where other alternatives are not viable from an economic, point. And I think the other thing we're waiting for is the assumption of ownership of our systems in our area by Charter Communication out of North Carolina from Time Warner. And certainly, Bolton, a few years ago, expended their own money and expanded the line up their road. Unfortunately, there hadn't been a lot of feasibility done, and only a few customers joined in. And that's the point that Time Warner always falls back on, is the marketability in these areas. Kevin has been working very hard on the east and west side of Warrensburg to expand, but the cost is $30,000, rather prohibitive for a few of the neighbors to join in and pay that $30,000. So we need a solution where Charter is going to be directed, and Frontier to come to the table with some state money, with some federal money, as well as their commitment of money in order to move this forward. Because all of these wonderful things that we're doing out of the tourism department and trails, in biking and new tourism, we're going to reach a breaking point here that people are going to either increase their complaints on the lack of broadband and cell coverage in areas. And while we've had some improvements, it's still, you go into the Adirondacks, it's very sketchy.
Just a quick question on the 518 versus 516.
Yep.
If you look at the yellow map there, so is it conceivable that the solution, and I just throw this out because I don't know, that everyone that currently in this yellow area that currently has 518 would continue to have 518, and that all of the new folks that come on stream, so my point is it conceivable that geographically 518 and 516 would just intermix?
No, there's going to be a new area code.
Okay. So would there be a geographical cut where it would be 518 and then 516?
There are two options.
Okay.
And so it's really an option to cut 518 territory in half. Again, they're going to come up with user numbers and have 518 stay in one sector and create maybe 500 in the other sector. Or they will look at areas and say, we'll keep 518 intact as is and allow all new people to come in with 500, whether they're in Glen Lake or down in Poughkeepsie.
Okay, so go ahead, John.
Well, and the advantage of that second option is that all the businesses that currently have 518 and would have to make changes on all their advertisements and their literature and their documents and their letterheads and would be expensive for the businesses to change their zip code. So, a lot of people I'm talking to favor the second one, which is all new users will go with the new zip code. That way it will impact the current 518 users.
The one thing that we want to determine, I've asked Public Service Commission that, is what, if that occurs, what John is suggesting, what is the longevity of that 518? When will that expire in terms of the, its expiration? Will that be in 2, 3, 5, 7 years? So I think that, in my opinion, is kind of a determining factor, I think, looking toward the future. A lot of businesses do have 800 numbers, but John is correct that a lot of other local businesses have the the phone number. Going back to days that Peter can remember, RX was
right.
the exchange in Glens Falls.
Where would it have to expire at? I mean,
Because that's the capacity of the system. Well, yeah, but it's not gonna grow anymore. If
Yeah, if they
they
give
said
new
518, whoever has it right now, that's it. Well, we wanna know if that is it, then the other system may be in play, but there may be, down the road, they're working on some technological advances here that may be able to spurn off, additional numbers. In other words, we wanna know if there's any advanced technology that's going to allow, for those that are advocating maybe a change to the new number, to keep this 518, in play here.
Craig?
Thinking of this from economic development, is we're trying to brand the whole North Country and our region, we're spending money on tourism to see what it is. People do associate with an area code. 802, for example, there's a lot of identification with Vermont area code. 505 in New Mexico, they recently, in the past dozen years, had to split that, but the whole state was under one, and then around the urban area they split it to a different one. And I would like to see the North Country retain the 518, draw the line at the, if it's to be drawn anywhere close to home, between Saratoga County and Warren County, include Washington County in the 518, and take it westward, so that the whole Adirondack Park area is in the 518. And if we want to make a resolution for the board to support that, for anybody to hear, I'd put that.
That's fine,
forward.
even though, your next board meeting is after the public hearing date, there's still gonna be time. They're gonna be gathering and trying to be making a decision, in the, time frame of December, so you've got time to do something there quick. As you can see on the map, what they did do, is add to those areas where central New York added 680, a couple of years ago, and as we know on the island, you've got number 2, 3, codes out there. And then in Boston, for those that are calling for Red Sox tickets, you notice that there's more than one code now, in the Boston, the Boston area.
Wayne? Wayne?
Huh?
I
I know, I start with
think
my
another
own,
option-
daughter and son-in-law, and they're my grandkids, are all New England now.
I think another option is to look at, why are the numbers, being, expended, is that in the family with 4, there's 4 cell phones. I think the cell phones should have a different area code, and that would solve the issue, because, in our house, there's 3 cell phones, they all have a 518 number, versus, and the house phone has the 518. So if the cell phones were all given a separate area code, I think that the 518 for all the landlines would be preserved.
The landlines would be bye-bye.
Landlines are.
Well, they better not, because I don't get cell service at home, so the only thing we've got is landline.
And there is an email, Craig, on this here, as well as an 800 number that you can record your comments and opinions as well. But I think your idea of advancing a resolution is good and appropriate and would be helpful, as well as forwarding that on to Betty and Dan. I think it's an important issue for us to see if we can lock into what we all believe is the best for our region from an economic point, from a tourism point, in order to happen.
Craig, do you want to make a resolution that would be presented at our next board meeting, or do you want to wait, or?
I hadn't thought that far ahead.
Okay, no
Well,
problem.
there is an informational meeting.
Yeah, there is, next
coming
Tuesday.
up, and I
Okay.
would suggest that you attend that to
Yeah.
be able to understand the
Yeah.
issues and the facts a little bit more before making any
Great,
resolution.
great.
Yeah, we'll get some more.
Beginning
Okay.
at 5
Okay.
o'clock in the community room downstairs,
Yeah.
Glen Street entrance at 5. And that probably is targeted to run to about 9.
That's the.
Tuesday. Again, I'll pass out a copy of these,
Wayne?
first-time homebuyer program.
One thing I'd like to add is, to kind of change the subject, is I'd like to thank Supervisor Simpson. I extended an invite to him to be grilled at the North Creek Business Alliance as the chair of DPW. He was gracious enough to come. He weathered the arrows well, and I appreciate his follow-up on the number of items that affect the downtown, business community of North Creek, and ways that the DPW crews and forces can help augment projects that we're undertaking through the First World Indies program. So again, Supervisor Simpson, thank you.
Anything else? No. Okay, great, thank you.
Airport grant study, was in the paper for that?
No.
That study will deal with, following topics. Budget, they're gonna analyze 10 to 12 airports of comparable size. I've spoken to Mr. Beatty about that, we may disagree somewhat on that, but, I think, budgets, management structure, fuel concession, mowing and snow plowing, Part 139 certification, landing fees, facilities and services, rates and charges, private investment on airport and annual inspections, dealing with all aircrafts, if that's being done on site or not, or who is doing that in the area. To give that information back to the supervisors so they can have that information as they go forward in discussions in a number of ways.
Yeah.
When will that be completed? It will be completed by the end of this year.
I don't think any reasonable person can argue with information, yeah. So I appreciate that, yeah.
If I may, Mr. Chairman?
Great, go ahead, okay.
Yesterday I attended the Common Ground Alliance with Supervisor Simpson and Chairman Garrity and a lot of other people from within inside the Blue Line. I attended a workshop about making the most of the resources we have, and we were in a group of about 50 people. It was headed up by Bob Stegman, Director of DEC Region 5, and Jim McKenna from Roost. It was a lot of great information and input, a lot of knowledgeable people there, and I would like to say that Warren County is very well set up by having the EDC, the LDC, and the IDA that they have. We have an advantage in this county and in this region for having that particular infrastructure that is able to help come see individuals that are interested in expanding businesses, give them support services, and get them pointed down the right direction. Getting pointed down the right direction seems to be one of the biggest stumbling blocks for investment within the Adirondacks, as identified by that group. So I'd like to commend Mr. Bartholomew and all that the county has done to put us in such a good position.
Thank you, Craig.
Again, Craig reached out, all supervisors have done that to a certain extent, but any time a business, and we try to go up there, do the business, and so that we probably will be generating and follow-up meetings with these businesses that are unique in the North Country.
I think was it today's paper, you indicated that the city had put up for sale that piece of property on Sherman.
Have an offer already in the morning.
See, really? Congratulations. Wow.
But, I mean, we
Full
expect a couple
contract
of
now?
others. As is conditioned, and
Good.
it's close to the purchase asking.
Oh, wonderful. Good. Perfect. Okay. All righty. Can we get a motion to adjourn? Supervisor Simpson, second by Supervisor McDonald. Adjourned.